Justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are so excited that you came and you decided to be with us. My name is Monica Jean Pierre, and I'm the Assistant Director of United Excel. And United Excel is a research based organization designed to bring knowledge and awareness to the community through five core areas: research, education, negotiation, confrontation, and resolution. The mission of United Excel is to educate, advocate, and empower the Baton Rouge community and surrounding areas through our MEDS model, morally, economically, domestically, and socially, while promoting peace and justice around the world. The goal of United Excel is to be a vehicle of hope to the community by examining systemic inequality, questioning practices, requiring change, and imagining alternatives. I'll tell you a little bit more later how you can be a part of our team if you are interested in learning more about United Excel. So, tonight is why you came. So, we'll be hearing from council people from all districts 2, 6, 9, and 11. But before then, I have a special treat for you. We have a moderator, Dr. Melanie S. Johnson. Dr. Johnson is currently an assistant professor of political science at Southern University and A&M College in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Dr. Johnson has previously worked as grant specialist at the Office of Research and Strategic Initiatives, Office of Sponsored Programs, and served as a facilitator on the university's strategic planning committee at Southern University. I am so excited that we have Dr. Johnson with us. Dr. Johnson, it's all on you.
To candidates and constituents. I'm a proud candidate. I'm actually a proud resident, I'm sorry, of District 2, and I will be the moderator for this evening. Each candidate will be asked about 8 questions and be given 2 minutes to answer the questions. So at this time, I will start with the questions, and I will start with Councilwoman Banks. As the incumbent, can you please give us an overview of the areas that make up your district?
Um, the, the, Hello, Dr. Johnson. And of course, I'm excited about you still being a constituent. The boundaries for District 2 encompasses 80% of the city of Baker, Alston, Scotlandville, Beechwood, Brownsville, everything north of Hooper to the Comite River. It is comprised of about 3 zip codes: 70807, 70714, and 70811. It's about a 33,000 constituency base and very diverse.
Thank you. I'd like to ask some of the other candidates, and actually we can go in alphabetical order, or you can just chime in as you will. I want to ask you if you could name the one successful thing that you've done in the community that has been impactful, that citizens would remember that you were the reason that it happened. What would it be? Okay, that's fine, Dr. Johnson.
Okay. I would say one of my greatest accomplishments was being an instructor at various universities and having the opportunity of being able to change lives academically as well as personally. Most of my students have become friends of mine, and even though they are no longer in my courses, they still reach out to me for advice and guidance. So I think that the most impactful thing that I've done is teaching students for the last 20 years at the college level.
Thank you. Mr. Williams?
Yes, ma'am. How you doing today?
I'm doing
Well,
well. How are you?
all right, all right. One of the most things is definitely gathering everyone together in the community, where we're doing painting or whether we're doing cleanup. And it's a very good thing when we all get out in fellowship and get back cleaning up our community and bringing everybody together as one. So that's one of the main things I want to say. The accomplishment is whenever we put something together in the community for us, again, clean up and paint the buildings and so far like that, it's just lovely to see the amount of people that shows up and give back.
Thank you. Councilwoman Banks, would you like to speak on that issue?
I think the most impactful experience is basically the rejuvenation of our District 2 community, being able to be successful in areas of economic development, healthcare, housing, recreation, all the tenets that make up the quality of life, people being enthused, having hope, working together, new initiatives in our community. All those things I think have moved our district forward, and where we were once last, now we're beginning to move up. So I think impact, all of it is just all the areas that make District 2 a better place since I've been elected, are the things that I'll be remembered for.
Great, thank you very much, which leads me to my next question for you candidates. So in what ways will you engage in already existing businesses in the upkeep and the development of the community? This includes keeping their areas clean, giving back to the community through scholarships or donations, and working together with government officials. So Dr. Johnson, would you like to answer that first?
Well, okay. Engaging with the community going forward as councilman is what you're asking, or currently?
In moving forward, if you're elected as councilman or councilwoman, in what ways will you engage in existing businesses to make sure they're the upkeep of the businesses, the development of the communities, and to clean up the areas in the communities through scholarships, through donations, even through grant opportunities, and working together with government officials to ensure that the District 2 moves in the right direction.
Okay. So I would engage with the businesses and by establishing a storefront ordinance. The storefront ordinance would be to where everything would be more standardized, having them to comply with the environment remaining clean in front of those. Hopefully, it would be nice for us to have. They have these Scotlandville Saturdays that they do, which brings in extra vendors and also generates more business for the current businesses that are out there. So trying to bring them in and engage on different activities that would not only give them recognition as far as knowing that they're there, but also being able to know the people who live within District 2. As far as the officials, I would reach out to work through the council, of course, in addition to working with the mayor and trying to do things that can improve the environment as well. And working with the city, maintain cleanliness of our area, and also enhancing the area with the beautification efforts such as foliages and things of that nature. Also soliciting out for grants and also collaborating with LSU and some universities in establishing some beautification in our areas in addition to the marketplace that's on the intersection of Scotlandville and Scenic Highway.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Councilwoman Banks?
Yes, when you mentioned that, it reminded me of the grant that you and I worked on with Southern University and LSU on the federal neighborhood grant. Just the idea that our community was considered in being on the foremost between Southern and LSU was just tells how how important and how we're on the front row, front of getting some things done in our community. I think that when businesses come to the area, one of the ways that I have collaborated with them is to have arrangements where they hire 25% based on the zip code in which they are representing in District 2. Also, whenever there's a new building, I'm very strategic in making sure that the proper buffers and greenery and beautification plans are also enforced. We have great partners with ExxonMobil, Genesis Energy, and Scotlandville Alumni Center, where they have worked with me in several beautification plans at the George A. Newman Community Center. We have a great relationship with BREC, where we had the Cheneyville Park redone. I'm renaming the Hooper Park to Sharon Hill so that it would be congruent with Sharon Hills Elementary and Sharon Hills subdivision. The fact with BREC, we were about to lose our several years ago, the swimming pool closure, being successful in making sure that happened. Of course, the projected $200 million expansion and improvement to Greenwood Park and the zoo. We have an arts grant that will be doing a walk to remember that will join George A. Newman Community Center to Scotlandville High School. We also have a $25,000 grant with Baton Rouge General, where they would do a heart shape walking trail throughout our community.
Okay,
Working with the cats.
Councilwoman Banks, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're going over our time, so I'm going to have to get to Mr. Williams. Thank you. We need to move on.
Sure.
But thank you very much.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
That's okay.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Okay. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Well, so a lot of things we have already started over the years that we already included in working with local businesses around the District 2 area, which a couple of stores that already have collaborated with us with putting on events such as Easter egg hunts and so forth like that to keep our kids occupied, bring some joy and stuff to the community. Again, when I came around a couple of weeks ago and did a Scotlandville cleanup, I was getting with local stores and mentioning that to them that they need to start taking care of the front of their stores more, making sure their lines are painted and keeping trash out in front of the store. I also talked to them about that we're going to start doing donations in to give away scholarships once the pandemic starts. Because again, my main focus is keeping everybody safe and so forth like that. So when we start off 2021, once I get in office, that's we'll get back with those businesses and bring forth those agendas again, and we're going to move on forth with that. So again, I have already started those things. We're working with the local businesses, and we have talked, and I have other future plans and other visions to go with that, and we're going to move District 2 forward, and that's the main thing.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Yes, ma'am.
Which brings me to my next question. All of us in District 2, this has been a major issue in District 2, and it is the fact that we are a food desert. The grocery store and access to healthy foods are a great concern of the part of this district. Much progress has been made in this area, but what plans do you have to bring more food markets or food store, grocery store to the Scotlandville District 2 community? I don't know if Councilwoman Banks, can you hear me? Well, Mr. Williams, do you want to address that question?
One of the things that we're going to do as far as bringing food and produce back to the community, I want to get back to building these gardens back up that we have already stationed around the community to show people that we can grow our own produce. Also get with local grocery stores and others who's growing produce or have supermarkets. Bring those in. I have other ideas. I'm not ready to bring those forth, but whatever we have to do for us to bring to get our community back to eating healthy and bringing those produce here, to we have fresh food for the elderly and the other people to have food to come home with that's other than fast food, just introduce them to fresh foods. So I have a few programs, few things that I want to continue, but one of the main things is get the gardens back up and get the produce going.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilwoman Banks, would you like to address the question about bringing grocery stores to the District 2 community and the residents of District 2? What are your plans to ensure that we
Yes.
bring in vibrant grocery stores for our residents in this community? I think we lost her. Dr. Johnson, do you want to address that?
Certainly. Actually, it's been a good while since we've had a grocery store in District 2. Even though there's a Walmart and a Save-A-Lot in Baker, it still causes an inconvenience to those that live further in the Scotlandville area to be able to access those stores without having that extra expense of the Ubering or transportation in general just to get to and from there. And also as a challenge for them to catch buses and do groceries and carrying them on the bus and having to walk home. Because of this issue that has been identified, I have met with CADAV, well, actually it's Together of Louisiana, and they have committed us to bringing in 3 new grocery stores. I had already started in that venture of research and contacting people, and I've identified one store as already that is considering using us as a pilot program for the Black Lives Matter, and they're considering putting full stores in areas of low economy. So I've already reached out there, and also as far as we had 2 fruit stands that were operative on Airline and on Plank Road. There's a man by the name of Mr. Ali. He and his family have a beautiful garden area, and they sell their fresh produce off of Scotlandville Avenue. I would like to help them to build that business to where it could be more sustainable and helpful toward the community.
Well, thank you, Dr. Johnson. We're running short on time, but thank you, and thank you, Mr. Williams, for your answers to these questions. And thank you for attending this town hall meeting this evening. Thank you very much.
Yes,
thank
you.
you.
Y'all be blessed.
And John Pierre, I really appreciate the opportunity for being able to not only engage with you through conversation, but be able to share my views with the public. And in closing, I would ask that you vote for number 101, Dr. Dina Johnson. My website is www.DinaJohnson4citycouncil.com.
Okay, and you, Mr. Williams, you can do the
Yes,
same
ma'am. I
thing.
want to make sure that everybody remember to get out and early vote this week. It starts this Thursday. Remember me on the polls as number 1. I'm sorry. Remember me on the polls as number 102 on your polls. So let's please get out there. My name is Eugene Rico Williams for District 2. We have a lot of vision, we have a lot of plans. So let's move forward and let's work together on moving District 2 forward. Y'all be blessed.
And unfortunately, we lost Councilwoman Shauna Banks, and she was not able to come back on the air. Unfortunately, we lost her.
That's okay, and we'll mention her her number later.
Okay, great.
In her honor. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Thank you, Doctors Johnsons. Thank you so much, and thank you, Mr. Williams.
Yes,
we're so grateful. We look forward to whatever you guys have planned for District 2, and I'm pretty sure the residents in District 2 are they're looking for the same thing.
Yes.
So I would like to move on for District 6. So as we prepare for District 6, I want to let you guys know that if you are interested in joining United Excel, please text Justice, that's JUSTICE, to 225-250-1970. Again, that's text Justice to 225-250-1970 if you would like to join our team. Our wonderful team has put together some exciting and informative Tuesday events. Thus, See you Tuesday. Because what we would like to do is have an informed voter at the polls on by November the 3rd. So, our Tuesday events leading you to the polls, not only do we want you to vote, but we want you to be an educated voter. During our campaign Tuesdays, we will provide resources and information you need to be an informed voter. And we have talked to several councilmen, and they are excited to share their platforms, such as tonight. So, next week, we'll be doing the same thing. So, again, if we are ready, we're going to get ready for District 6. But until then, I'd like you to know that you can always go back and listen to this information. It'll be posted on the United Christian Faith Ministries social media pages and YouTube, on Facebook and on YouTube, and you can always go back. So if you wanted to hear something that someone said from District 2 and you just not quite sure, you can always go back and hear the replay. At this moment, if you have some time, just share it, because there may be somebody, you may not be in this District 2, but there may be someone in District 2 or 6 or 9 or 11 that may need to hear this information. So we're looking forward to just getting the information out. So our next event will be October the 20th at 6 p.m. and we'll be here and we'll hear more from our councilmen and possibly our judges. So we're looking forward to that. So again, if you want to know, if you have anything to say about this electoral season, hashtag See You Tuesday and you'll find this information. That's hashtag See You Tuesday and we will find this information. So we have people that's coming in. We're so excited. I want to let you know again, if you didn't hear me earlier, if you want to join United Excel, you would text Justice to 225-250-1970. 225-250-1970. Could I have Dr. Johnson, our moderator for District 6? Hi, Dr. Johnson. How are you? Is there anything that you would like to tell the people tonight as it relates to voting and how important it is, especially with your expertise in your college at the university? I'm sorry, at Southern University.
Thank you, Monica. Yes, I would definitely like to say that your voice is your vote. It is important that you go and let your voice be heard. We have so many different elections resting on, on the during this election time, we from the presidency, but to the local elections. And I think that it's very important that people understand that you cannot create change in your communities unless you go and vote and be politically active in your community to create change. So I actually I'm going to quote someone that said, we need to vote like your life depends on it. We do. We need to vote like your life depends on it, because in the election, the people that we vote represent us in the communities we live in, and what happens to us in the communities we live in, from economics to the air we breathe to the food we eat. And so I think a lot of people look at voting and say, well, I don't really need to vote because it doesn't really impact me, but it directly impacts individuals first. And it's so important to go and get the vote out and go vote.
And since you're saying get the vote out, I want everybody to remember we had one of our candidates say earlier that early voting does start this week. So you should ask yourself these questions. The first question is, are you a registered voter? Are you a registered voter? Have you updated your voter's registration since moving? I would encourage you to even take a moment. You can go to www.sos.la.gov or govote.gov, and you could find your name. You can key in your name and you can see all of your information about you as a voter. Make sure that information is correct. Make sure that your party association is correct. If you are associated to a party, make sure that your address is correct. Make sure you know where to go to vote. All of that is very important. And then lastly, ask yourself, are my family members, are my friends, and my colleagues registered to vote? Those are very important. And if you have any questions about how to vote, to get registered, always hashtag See You Tuesday. You'll find our links, and you can connect to us via social media. So again, we are so excited that you're here, and I think we are now ready for District 6. Are we ready for District 6? District 6 is coming on. So we have tonight Miss Collins, Mr. Pitcher, and Miss Dunn. Dr. Johnson, is on you.
Evening, candidates of District 6, and welcome to the City Council Town Hall meeting. I will be your moderator this evening. Each candidate will receive 6 to 8 questions and have 2 minutes to respond to each question. Thank you, and so we'll get started. My first question is to Ms. Collins. You know, we hear a lot about blighted property in communities. And I would like to know, can you explain maybe some of the issues in your district surrounding blight, and what are some of your solutions to minimize this issue of blight?
Okay, most of the blight is off of, is in actually immediately adjacent to my neighborhood, which is Forest Oaks, Windsor Place. And there's other blight in other areas, but it's real heavy there, as well as there has been a lot of work done by others in the Melrose East Association, formerly known as Mall City, but they've had some great redevelopment in that area. So those are the 2 areas that stick out the most. In terms of how to resolve it, I have been doing some research on like what are some real solutions to blight. Sometimes we throw out different ideas. And so there were some examples in some other cities. And a couple of the things that stuck out was, developing, of course, a comprehensive remediation plan where you meet. Most of us in this race are committing to doing quarterly meetings. And so in addition to having that quarterly meeting, part of that meeting should be, okay, make sure you report the blight that's going on, or report different situations or instances that could lead to blight, where we can send letters and aggressively outreach, especially those properties where there's an owner that's renting, and sometimes people clean just enough to rent a property out, and then that's it. They turn it loose, and they don't necessarily maintain their investment. Another one is to educate residents on blight tracking. I'll be quite honest, I'm not sophisticated on the details of how the city parish tracks its blight, but as a resident, I think it would be great for us to all be educated on that. And then as neighborhoods, we can be more engaged in helping our respective council persons, and hopefully that would be me, keep up with the blight that's being reported and making sure that it's being triaged. And I use the word triage to say, okay, this property might be blighted, but the issues are a whole lot worse to be mitigated with this particular property than that. And so which ones, how do we prioritize each property? Those are some small solutions. There are others, but I'm sure I've hit my 2-minute mark. So
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Reverend Pitcher, thank you.
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you guys for having us. Basically, I would make it a point to contact the landlords, the owners, some cases absentee landlords, and make sure that they understand that the property is starting to or is causing problems in the community, particularly with blight, trash, rodents, and things like that. I also understand that there's I don't know if you would call it a law or ordinance on the books where if next door neighbor would maintain the property through mowing it and keeping it clean, that at some point in time he can either purchase it or have it willed to him. So I would definitely look into that program. And if that's the case, then organize a community and let the community purchase the blighted property, and or if they can remediate the property, let the community remediate it, rent it, or buy it, lease it, something to make sure that that blighted property is not an eyesore to the community. So those are the two main things that I see that I could do personally that I'm aware of.
Thank you, Reverend Pitcher, which brings me to my next question. In what ways will you engage with existing businesses in your community in the upkeep and development of the community? And you spoke about this, Reverend Pitcher, a minute ago. This includes, cleanups through communities, any scholarship or donations, just in working together to ensure that your district is moving forward as it relates to economic development.
Okay, first of all, and if the makeup of our community, you have inner city, you have industrial, you have commercial, and you have suburban. I noticed that there are quite a few businesses that are operating around the Choctaw area, over Melrose East area. I would solicit those business owners, first of all, to make sure that they hire local residents, make sure that local residents are properly represented on those job sites. They're in our community, and I feel that if they're in our community, they can help contribute to the poverty situation or even the crime situation by helping us hire people who live in the neighborhood. Secondly, it would be mandated that they keep the properties clean. Most of the business owners, unfortunately, don't live in the community. So it would be a priority for me. Since you don't live here, at least make sure that you are a good neighbor and make sure that you are keeping your property clean in addition to hiring local residents.
Thank you. Ms. Collins.
Okay, so it's a couple of things I would like to do. First and foremost, better educate some of the small businesses. We have approximately 1,600 small businesses in District 6, and many of them are small work from home type businesses. And so in that type of environment, sometimes what is most needed is building capacity for those small businesses to be able to grow beyond that home office, if that's the model, if that's the desired model for that small business. And so there are awesome resources that are already in existence for small and intermediate businesses, like the Louisiana Small Business Administration, which has an office on Southern University's campus, right on Harding, when you cross over the Hump. And so a satellite office would be amazing, because Southern University is at least 20-25 minutes away from District 6. And so there's nothing like that on this side of town, whether it's District 6 or District 8 or what have you. So those type of resources right there at home. Also, I would like to organize small businesses, which would actually include myself, because I am a small business owner. I run a boutique government relations firm. And so it would be helpful for the small businesses in the area to organize, to accomplish two things. One, create a general sense of community. There's been a lot of demographic shifts in our area, which Reverend Pitcher had mentioned. And so then, just like I've done with our schools, we have to come together and begin to recognize the current existing assets that we have, and then assess that in terms of what are our strengths, our weaknesses, and how can we help each other within the district. And then also, of course, leverage and pull resources down to help those businesses that are organized and come together and bring down federal, local, state resources to assist in building up.
Thank you. Which leads me into my next question is, how would you describe to us, how would you engage with other council members and other officials in moving the city forward in a positive way if elected as councilwoman or councilman in District 6?
You want us to take turns on who goes
Yes,
first? Okay,
yes.
all right. I just wanted to make sure before I started talking. All right, so I do actually have a very strong record of being a consensus builder, uh, nationally, locally, at the state level. It is so divided right now, and it is very tempting. You know, I'm very liberal. You know, sometimes I might want to scream and holler and shout based on my own personal viewpoint. But at the end of the day, when we serve on the council or school board or in the legislature, we have to get things done for the people at home, in our respective district and in our city, state, or nation, what have you. And so I have a proven track record of coming on a board that was exceptionally divided, and then working with everybody on the board, you know, whether I felt they were a friend of mine or whether I felt like, okay, you know, no, I don't agree with most of what you say, but let's still talk and find those few things that we can get along on. And so that's my approach. Now, the school board is currently a little divided. Some people say a lot divided. And so, but that type of thing kind of happens as you get new people on, and then your folks have to rebuild relationships and find their way beyond those new dynamics. And so I always keep my door open, whether I agree or disagree with whomever it is, whether it's a colleague on the Metro Council or board, or whether it's a community stakeholder, whether they're a corporate person or the, you know, the neighbor down the street that needs help with their light bill or what have you. I have an open door policy, treat folks with respect. I might come down with a lot of passion when I feel like something isn't right. But my approach is to always try and find a way for folks to get things done and get along in that regard.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. Reverend Pitcher.
Okay, the first thing I would do is meet with my constituents to find out what are the things that they want done from the city council. Prioritize those things. Meet with the individual council persons and compare our list. And if there's some areas where we can work together to get theirs taken care of, they can work with me to get mine taken care of. Because right now, everything is so divisive. Everybody's against each other. There's no unity at all. And it seems like everybody is either broken down by party lines or racial lines, which is going to produce a complete stalemate. Because I'm not going to give an inch if you're not giving an inch, you know, and I'm not going to turn down or back off of what my constituents want in support of yours unless you're willing to do the same for me. So I think it's mutual respect, working together for the good of the parish, and also just being able to appreciate shared values and mutual respect.
Thank you, Reverend Pitcher. One of the other things I'd like to ask tonight is surrounding the social injustices in this country that everyone has been talking about recently. And due to the lack of within these communities regarding access to capital, access to money, what is your goal to ensure that economically in your district, you can bring money into the district that you will serve?
Okay, first of all, the economic development should work hand in hand with the elimination of poverty and crime. I think, you know, we talk about bringing businesses into the community, but we don't talk about preparing the residents of the community to qualify them to take on some of the jobs that the businesses are producing. I think it should work hand in hand while we're working to bring investors into the community to set up small businesses. We also should have something set up whereby we provide job training, skill development, job placement within those jobs, apprenticeship. One of my main planks in my platform is to create a relationship between bricklayers, carpenters, pipe fitters, plumbers, these people who are members of the union, bringing young people in and allow them to set up a apprenticeship program, train and develop these young people and prepare them to take on some of the responsibilities of jobs, having a good job. I think bringing businesses into the community is a fine endeavor, and we're going to do that, and we want to do that. But we also want to prepare the young people or the people who live in the community to access the jobs once the businesses have come.
Thank you, Reverend Pitcher. Ms. Collins.
Okay, so great question. So one thing that I'm huge on advocating for is a living wage. I've participated in rallies and marches and been supportive in solidarity with union brothers and sisters and non-union brothers and sisters in the fight for many years. One barrier in local is actually a state legislation which prevents local governments from actually being able to do more than mandate $7.25. Okay, so the state has prevented local entities such as the EBR Metro Council from being able to raise wages locally. So I would continue to advocate for that. In terms of, I agree that Reverend Pitcher is correct. The economic development will also help contribute to that. But the piece that I would like to add is not just organizing the small businesses and leveraging the awesome, diverse resources we have, celebrating all those diverse cultures, whether it's Vietnamese, African American, Sun is barbecue, so American food, the Hispanic culture, what have you, that is very prevalent and diverse in our district, but also the residents there, making sure that people have their eye on what's right there locally, especially with us not having and not necessarily needing major big boxes like a Target. Walmart is fine or what have you, but we have some awesome homegrown talent and businesses right there in District 6 that if we just slow down and pay attention, because they don't have the big marketing dollars like these other folks do, which cause us to sometimes pass up. I tell a story and I'll close my thought with this, that part of what made me want to run for Metro Council is I bought a refrigerator. And I bought it from Sears instead of from Sherwood Magnavox right across the street. And so part of my efforts would include organizing that information and educating the district on what you have right here in a marketing piece.
Thank you, Ms. Collins.
This ownership and pride in the area, leading back to the nature of your question.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. So if it's one thing that both of you all could speak about, that you've done in the community recently impactful to the citizens in the community, what would you say it has been?
Okay, go ahead. I couldn't remember who started first.
Yeah. Okay. Basically, most recently, just say within the last month or so, worked with a group of citizens in the community to try to deal with this overgrown canals, the drainage, make sure that the maintenance has started back, because it had been, they put us last on the list priority-wise. And all of the canals in the district have been overgrown, and they've been overgrown for some time. So along with other members of the community, we started to email, call, and do whatever we could, make noise to make sure that DPW came out. They came out and sprayed, but now they're going to have to come back and clean up the debris that the spraying has caused. So that's the most recent thing I've done in the community.
Thank you, Reverend Pitcher. Ms. Collins?
Okay, so in terms of policy matters, some things that I've done is advocate at the state capitol for equal pay for women. On a local level, as a school board member, I'll go ahead and mention the work that I've done as a school board member for the area. And that is build the relationships necessary and do the research necessary to be able to pull down $15 million in resources for the schools in the area. I had done the research. I had talked with families door to door, so I heard the sentiments, but then I'd also done the research to see the hard numbers that a lot of our families in the area were putting their kids on the bus for extra hour or so they can participate in that magnet program way across town. So now we have some schools in the area that have not displaced neighborhood children, but are offering strong traditional programs and campuses with magnet components on them, and those kids are all benefiting from those resources. Additional programming at so those schools are Villa Del Rey Elementary, Park Forest Middle, and Bel Air High. They're creative sciences and arts magnet schools. And it's designed to have a feeder pattern, and it's still young. And so people in the area, mentioning resources and looking at resources that we have locally, start to look and be mindful of what you have in the district, so those children can stay in the district and build up and make this program stronger, because a high school student that starts out in a new magnet program is a different high school student than a high school student who went through elementary, middle, and then up to high. So in some ways, while we choose in choice, and this is all about my overall approach to dealing with District 6, okay? In some of our choosing choice options, whether it's schools, whether it's businesses, we have to start being more strategic and more mindful of what we have, so we can invest at home and stop some of the bleed of the divestment as we also work to pull in more resources. And so that's some of the stuff I've done here locally, my more recent stuff.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. We're running out of time, but I can't leave without asking you this one question. And it's about crime. Crime in Baton Rouge is high. We've all experienced it in some form or fashion. And so if elected as the council person in District 6, what actually, and how would you work with the council to try to decrease crime in your area in any way?
Okay. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You're fine.
Okay. All right. So one thing that I'm big on, and I am still learning about, but I love the model, is community policing. And so while, yes, we absolutely want law enforcement to do their job, and we want them to be present if somebody is burgled in the house or what have you, I think the strongest model we can have is one in which we as community police ourselves, much like, and Reverend Pitcher can speak to this, I'm sure, like Deacons of Defense and others, in which the neighborhoods, and in this modern day and time, those who have crime prevention districts are very, very well positioned to embrace a community policing model where you have your precinct captains or your block captains or what have you, and that relationship is established in a loosely formal way between that neighborhood and the police department, so that if something is going on, the communication is there to help law enforcement do a better job, and also to alleviate tension and protect a neighborhood from unwanted tension or sometimes a neighborhood can feel over policed. And so then it is especially important for those neighborhoods to develop some sort of community policing model.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. Reverend Pitcher?
Yes, I agree with Don. I'm looking at making sure that the district has proper representation in terms of crime prevention districts, because some of them do. Some of the larger subdivisions have crime prevention districts, but there are pockets that don't. So we want to make sure that all of them are properly represented, because I want to tie that into what I call real community policing, where the police officers are allowed to remain in a zone longer than they do now in order to facilitate a proper relationship between the community and the police. Police get a chance to meet and greet and get familiar with the citizens. Citizens get a chance to meet and greet and get familiar with the police officers. In addition to that, I want to develop something that I did in 1990 called Community Alert Patrols, because sometimes crime happens in the community and nobody wants to say anything. So we want an apparatus within the community whereby if you don't want to talk directly to the police, then there's Community Alert Patrol. Give them a call, share the information with them. Because in order for us to have a true relationship with the police in the community, we're going to have to cooperate. Something happens in the community, nobody knows anything until it happens to them, and then they want everybody to tell. So set up community alert patrols within the community, working with the crime prevention district, and bring real community policing.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer, Reverend Pitcher. I have a question here from, I think we've run out of time. I'm sorry. We've run out of time. Yes. Well,
it was a great conversation, an absolute great conversation. And you have some wonderful things that you look forward to doing in the community should you be elected. I would like to say that due to technical difficulties, we did have other candidates. And so we want to honor them by speaking their name. Mr. Cleve Dunn and Mr. Corey Smith, they tried their best to get on, but they had some technical difficulties. So these are the people representing District 6 tonight. We have Reverend Reginald Pitcher, we have Miss Dawn Collins, Mr. Cleve Dunn, and Mr. Corey Smith. So thank you so much. We're so grateful that you gave us the time, and I'm pretty sure your residents in your district was really excited to hear what you had to say. So thank you so much. So what we're going to talk about, thank you. And thank you so much, Dr. Johnson. We appreciate the time that you gave us tonight, the conversation in between the two districts. Thank you for your words of wisdom and your words of encouragement to get us out and vote, because our voice counts. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. I would like to tell you all, just in case you didn't know, that the office of a council person is an elected member of the municipal legislature. He or she is responsible for representing the needs of his or her district in local government. Just as a congressman represents his constituents on the federal level, a city council enacts laws and promotes the safety of its citizens, and a city council person works to ensure that his district's residents are treated fairly by those policies. That's why it is so important that you ever, as a resident of your area, listen to these types of forums, because these will be the individuals representing you in your city, not even your city, in your neighborhood. So you want to make sure that you pick the person that represents your views. So if you will go back and do hashtag See You Tuesday, you will hear from our very first series on how you should vote. Get that information. It's really good, because you know what? Early voting starts this week. Early voting starts this week. And so we want you to be an informed voter. We want you to walk and stroll down to the polls with great confidence that you're making the best decision for you and your family. So up next, we're going to talk to Districts 9 and Districts 11. But before we do that, I wanted to let you know that next week on October the 20th at 6 p.m., we'll hear more from our candidates in our area. And so if you're interested in learning more about the United Excel Social Justice, please text justice to 225-250-1970. That's justice to 225-1970. We are so excited that you're here, and we welcome you to come back and hear more about what we have to offer you all next week. Now, I do want to let you know that United Excel does not back one individual specifically. We are here for you. We back you. We want you to be, and if you're home and you want to say it with me, an informed voter. So we're going to be here next week live via Facebook and YouTube. We're going to have a watch party on November the 3rd. So get yourself ready. We want you to wear whatever colors you want to wear, but we're going to join us on November the 3rd for our watch party. So are districts 9 and 11 ready? I'm so excited. So who I have with me tonight would be Miss Jazika Matthews. She's going to be our moderator for this evening. And I want to tell you just a little bit about Miss Jazika. Miss Jazika, she serves as a project manager for Baton Rouge Collective Healing in the great state of Louisiana. This role has required that she wear many hats: community organizer, marketer, and training coordinator. She finds her newest nickname, the Police Whisperer, both amusing and fulfilling because it positions her as an ally and bridge to both law enforcement and community. A two-time graduate of Southern Illinois University, Jazika counts working with the underserved population, particularly youth, as one of her passions, and has fueled this passion with a career in youth development that spans over 15 years. So I think Mr. Gordon and Mr. Snyder, I think you're in good hands tonight. So we welcome you. Thank you for joining us. Jazika, it's your show.
Show. Okay, so I told in the back I told Mr. Vargas and Mr. Snyder that I turn into a whole different person when we get on camera. So I'm going to give you all energy, and if you don't mind us having a real conversation, I think we'll have a good time today. So first of all, I want to do this. I want to first acknowledge people who said that they were going to be here, had every intention of being here, but because of time constraints, we're not able. First, Miss Lori Adams from District 11, she wanted to be here, but unfortunately she wasn't able, but we do wish her well. And also from District 9, Mr. Dwight Henderson, we also wish him well as well. So we were going to have a conversation with both districts, but today we're just going to talk to District 11. So the first question I have, and either of you can take this question because this is a freebie. Could you paint me a picture, a geographical picture of what District 11 looks like, where it is? Because let me be honest, I'm from District 10. That's where I reside. So I know District 10, and that means I'm non-biased, right? Because I'm from District 10. But yeah, so could you paint us a geographical picture of where that is? Either of you.
Jonathan, would you like to start or would you like me to start?
You can go ahead.
Okay, so if you take Florida at Carrollton, which is right there by Jerry Lane Chevrolet on Florida Boulevard, take it east to Airline, take Airline south to Old Hammond east to Sharp, Sharp north to Red Oak east to Sherwood, Sherwood south to Coursey, Coursey west to Airline Highway south to Old Jefferson, Jefferson to PQ, PQ crosses over 10, take it back to Segan to Perkins, Perkins at Segan west to Perkins at Essen, take Essen northbound till you get to Ollie Steele Burton, fly over the woods at the Split to go back to basically College at Jefferson. And I do know the boundaries through there, but I'll spare you the specifics.
That was perfect though. So now I know exactly the area that you represent. That was perfect.
it's basically Jefferson Terrace, settlement at Willow Grove, Homewood, Terra, Bocage, and everything on Old Hammond in between City Place and Airline Highway.
Cool. Wonderful. Okay, so this is a question for both of you, and I'm going to ask you, Mr. Snyder, to begin. Many residents still may not be familiar with your platform and connection to the community. What is something you want voters to know that you haven't been asked?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of voters ask this, but people who may not know me, a lot of people say, so why are you running? And so a little bit about me, Jonathan Snyder, lifelong resident of Louisiana, moved to Baton Rouge in 2011 and served as the executive pastor of Antioch Baton Rouge. And then I also own a small business, so Pelican Janitorial. And so many people ask the question, why does a pastor want to get into politics? And I say this very often, I'm not trying to be a politician. I think it's time that we start electing public servants, people that are willing to be with people, have the difficult conversations, and make progress for our city. So that's what I want people to know about me who may not know me or who may not have asked.
That's right. How about you?
I would just like to say that I want everybody to know that I'm basically pro capitalism, and I think we need to embrace government, but at the same time make sure it's efficient, and that we at the same time do not run business off. I don't think we've been as business friendly as we need to be or should be. I was disappointed to see Amazon, Buc-ee's, and Exxon not get all of the props that they need to give us some of those jobs, so that we're not a victim of this brain drain, and our college graduates are constantly leaving either at Southern or at LSU. They're leaving for opportunities elsewhere, and we really need to pick up the ball and run with it, because we're really losing when it comes to business here in the parish.
Okay, good answers. Both of those are great answers. What do you see, and we'll just go back and forth. We're going to ping pong.
That's fine. That's fine.
As the most pressing issue facing the city of Baton Rouge, and how does your vision for your district affect that pressing issue?
Would you like me to start?
I'm asking Mr. Snyder.
Okay, go ahead, John.
Yeah, sure. I think the most pressing issue is our budget. As East Baton Rouge Parish, whenever you look at our budget, in my opinion, there's a lot of inefficiencies. And so I think when we talk about issues like infrastructure, public safety, even some of our small and local businesses, it comes down to, are we being efficient and effective with our budget? So often as East Baton Rouge Parish, we enjoy saying yes to one-time projects, but there's not money even in the budget for maintenance and things of that nature. And so I would love for us to focus not just on the 2021 budget, but I would love for us to look at the next 20, 40, 60 years, planning for a city both budgetarily, and then also even as we plan our streets and our roads and infrastructure, looking at everything for future generations. We've got to stop playing the game where we get one-time projects done and we leave it there, but we've got to look at the future.
That's good. How about you, Mr. Vargas?
I think that the top three concerns are probably crime, economic development as far as it goes into COVID response, and then the organizational framework of DPW. And when it comes to crime, I did 21 years with Baton Rouge City Police and retired as a sergeant. So I look really forward to really getting into police reform and really helping our police get into the 21st century. And I think that I can do that even with the residents in other districts, because as a city policeman, I patrol the entire city, which has a lot to do with, not only District 11, but the surrounding districts. And I understand their concerns and problems with crime. I understand that snitches get stitches and others wind up in ditches. But, the reality is we need to take a realistic approach, because we're scaring off a lot of the people in the parish. If you look at the demographics, the population of the city, parish, and state are dropping right now. And that's because people are scared to live here. The people who aren't scared to live here are the people like myself who grew up here, we're vested here, and we're not going to get run off by crime. However, if we're going to be really honest about our growth and try to get our population in the city which has been 220,000 since 1980, if we're going to grow in any positive way, we need to really make people feel safe. And I think that first responders that are provided by the government need to be on a priority so that people feel safe here. They have pride here, and that in itself will fix a lot of the other areas that like the economy and so on and so forth. So that's what I would like people to know.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much. This next question is for you, Mr. Snyder. With issues surrounding social injustice due to lack within communities regarding access to capital and other needs, how do you propose joining with other Metro Council members in improving these areas?
Sure. I would say concerning District 11, I think we've got pretty good access to resources. But I agree with you. Whenever you look at all 12 districts, I would say there are discrepancies depending on what zip code you live in to just opportunities that you're provided. And so I think from a Metro Council level, we've got to have the conversations of ensuring that each and every district is getting the proper allocation, both for funding, but we can't stop there. We have to look further and say, just because we're allocating funds to these districts, and even for things like mental illness or hospitalization or public safety, and you name it, we've got to ask the question, just because we provide it, is the communication getting out to the people? So often there are resources available to people, but they don't even know that they're available. So I think depending on the district, we've got to look at our communication and say, hey, is it actually getting to the people? But yeah, I'd agree with you in the sense of there are discrepancies based on what district you live in, and even the level of education you're provided, the level of benefits you're provided. And so I'd love to look at that.
Good answer. Yes, Mr. Vargas, you're next. And I'm going to say good answer after yours too, because I'm supposed to be.
It's okay. It's okay. So again, you know, being a 20-year law enforcement officer in Baton Rouge, I've had a lot of contact with a lot of people in the judicial system, both city court and state court. And I can tell you, one of the problems we have today is access to justice. You can take two people, give them the same charges. The person that has access to money and attorneys gets a lighter charge or sentence than the person without that access. So we need to really make sure that people aren't getting what they call railroaded with their charges. That comes under police reform. A lot of these self-initiated charges that these police officers are writing sometimes are for the benefit of overtime, and they're not being done in the overall scope of good faith. So we really need to identify where those problems are by identifying the problem officers and where they are, and getting rid of the bad policemen. Because like I said, the poor and the impoverished are suffering right now from law enforcement who is not acting, but at the same time, not taking a butcher knife approach, but a scalpel, and really fine tuning and not mislabeling and just arbitrarily labeling a group of law enforcement as bad. We need to isolate, get rid of that specific officer, and not throw everybody out, but the baby in the bathwater saying. So we really need to do the reform and make sure our people have access to justice, because the things like the public defender's office needs to be funded so that everybody is represented in the courtroom accordingly and fairly.
Thank you. Good answer.
Thank you.
My next question is, our city is often divided on political issues along racial lines. How will you support an inclusive district that acknowledges all residents in your district? Let's start with you, Mr. Snyder.
Sure, I'd agree with you in the sense of depending on what district you're in, typically Republican, Democrat, and even as a Metro Council level, we're voting Republican, Democrat, black, white. And my big thing is we've got to have the tough conversations. I think if we want to move East Baton Rouge Parish forward, we can't just vote our party. If we vote our party, we'll be in a situation like we're in right now, where we can look at our city and there are a lot of improvements that need to be made. And so my big commitment is I want to have the tough conversations with different members of the Metro Council. I think a lot of that comes based on relationship. To have the tough conversations, you have to have relationships with those people. So even committing to becoming friendly and even cordial with some of those people in the Metro Council so that we can have the tough conversations. And typically I say this, just because something is best for District 11, it does not mean it's best for East Baton Rouge Parish as a whole. And so my big commitment is, hey, even though it may benefit District 11, if it doesn't benefit East Baton Rouge Parish as a whole, I'm not going to vote yes on that. And so just really being honest and saying, is this best for the common good? And if it is, hey, let's move forward. But if not, We've just got to say, hey, while it would be best for us, it's not best for everyone.
Okay.
Well, I will say that, people tend to vote down racial and party lines, and that's because people generally vote the way their parents voted. And so that may be a racial or a party line, but people don't need to miss the forest for the trees. They need to really say, what are the mechanical problems with what we're doing systemically from the ages of 0 to 8? And we need to look at the fact that Baton Rouge City has been 220,000 since 1980. Demographics wise, north of Baton Rouge, we're talking everything north of Florida Boulevard, and the economic development that's struggling in North Baton Rouge. In 1980, you had roughly a 60% white demographic. Now it's 60% black. So we need to make sure that we do not segregate ourselves any further. The segregation that's been going on in Baton Rouge is toxic. It's getting to levels where there's no balance, and there are more white areas together and more black areas together. And we need to really monitor that, because that is part of why we're decaying in population. We're not thinking together, and we're not including diversity into some of these areas. And I think that lack of diversity is causing the businesses to suffer, and therefore you don't have the economic development that needs to happen. So we really need to be mindful not to put ourselves in a box or a container when it comes to race, and realize that when people talk about together Baton Rouge and everybody together, that means desegregated and together, white and black, because you can see where too much segregation is not good. The proof is in the pudding. And that if we don't get and break those chains and think outside the box and say, hey, we need to freaking do something, because this place in 40 years from now could be that. So we need to say, what do we need to do now? And we need to be good leaders and lead with good, solid decision making to make sure everything is fair and balanced. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one last question, and then I'll ask you your closing. This is a question that's got to do with our current situation as it relates to the pandemic. We are currently in the throes of COVID. While many consider this a public health issue, many say that making sure that our economy is open should take priority. What are your thoughts as it relates to COVID and the economy, Mr. Snyder?
Sure. I think so often we want to look at the either or. Is it the economy or is it health? And I think we've got to look at both. I would say initially, whenever the pandemic started, I think we were just in closing everything down. I think we were just in saying, hey, we need to be on lockdown so that we're not overwhelming the hospitals, where we have enough ventilators for people. But as we move forward and learn more about the virus, I think we've got to take common sense approaches. I was talking to the coroner the other day, and essentially, here's the thing. If you're a higher risk person, it means that you fall into age, weight, diabetes, and so forth. If you fall in that category, I think, hey, let's use some common sense and let's stay home more often than not. Let's wear masks. But if you don't fall into one of those categories, I think, hey, let's open up our businesses again. Our economy is suffering. You got people who have started small businesses who are struggling to stay open. Many small businesses applied and were approved for the Payroll Protection Program, the PPP, but those funds have run out. And so now small business owners are deciding, hey, do I keep my doors open? And if I do keep my doors open, hey, can I keep all my employees, or do I have to let people go? And my thing is, hey, let's use some common sense. If a business owner wants to keep his doors open, and if people want to shop or buy things from that business, let's let that happen. Now, in those businesses, if we need to wear masks, that's great. But let's use some common sense. We can't do an either or approach. I think it's a both and, because I would hate for health-wise for our economy to go down the drain, but at the same time, our economy. So we've got to do a both and approach, and let's use some common sense and say, hey, how can we move our city and even our country forward?
Thank you. Trey? Oh, did you hear us?
I lost my speaker. My speaker went out. What was the question again?
So the question was about the pandemic, COVID, and specifically how you would address the economy as it relates to COVID. If you have any thoughts on that issue of the economy and COVID.
Yes, the thing with COVID is, we have to respect the fact that there are people with comorbidities that have issues, and they need to safely distance themselves from getting, the sickness. But at the same time, we got to respect the fact that business needs to operate if they can, and they need to be good shepherds and use their own decisions also. But the long-term questions that I have as far as COVID are, I see a lot of businesses restricting employees, sales, the occupancies of the businesses have been cut back to 50%. I'm not seeing any cuts in government. I'm not seeing anything there. So my big concern is, what are we going to do 6 months from now or a year from now to make the cuts? If there are some large ones, what are we going to do to really hedge those? Because I really don't see any cuts being made at this time. So those are my thoughts and concerns on COVID.
Thank you for that. So this is our final question. Really, I just want you to speak to your platform and your heart for the city as you kind of ask for these votes. So let me go with Trey first.
Okay. Well, basically, my platform is this. I am from Baton Rouge. I've seen everything that we've been through. I know the pain that the community is going through right now, because it is really a situation where we are losing people left and right, and they're good, productive people, and in so many ways. So we really need to be aggressive and say, what do we need to do to stop the bleeding? We need to get some more growth. We need to do that by expanding business. I think that there are not enough small businesses who are licensed and able to create jobs, which creates tax incentives for the parish. And so we need to incentivize people to come here and work. And with those jobs comes work and family. The other thing I want to add to that is, I feel that a lot of people in the community don't own their own house. A lot of people are third and fourth generation living under one roof. The house doesn't have clear title, so the people have no ownership. So we also need to reach out to maybe the law schools and say, how can we streamline this so that people can be vested in their community by ownership and owning their own property? And I think once we can make some positive steps in that direction, I think we'll see some more wholesome building and development, and not so much blight as far as that's concerned, because I think that blight is hurting the property values and keeping those stale, if not sometimes dropping. So I'll be looking in ways to help blight as well, to keep our property values up and keep our economy bustling. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Jonathan.
Sure. Like I said, I'm a lifelong resident of Louisiana. Come from a family. My mom's white, my dad's black, and come from just a multiracial family. I think it's East Baton Rouge Parish. We have to begin to bridge the gap across all 12 districts. We have to have the hard conversation and say, hey, what's best for East Baton Rouge Parish? My big core initiatives include supporting small business. I care about improving our community infrastructure. I care about our public safety and ensuring it's properly funded. And then lastly, just bringing efficiency to local government. I think if we can look at our government, I think the big issue that encompasses everything, I said this earlier, is that as we look at our budget, we've got to ensure that it's efficient, it's effective, and that we're getting the proper return on investment. We've got to make sure that we're stewarding tax dollars well, and that we can be held accountable to that. So even being transparent in that. I said this already, but my big reason for running, not trying to be a politician, but do want to be a public servant. I want to be open and available to people. I want to help our community move forward. And I think we have a lot of potential with a capital city here in Louisiana. And we've got the funding, we've got the potential. We even have the colleges. We've got LSU, we have Southern, we have BRCC. The question is not will people come to Baton Rouge? The question is, will people stay? And unfortunately, for far too long, people haven't been staying. And so the question is, hey, how can we improve our infrastructure? How can we improve our schools? How can we make this a place where small businesses want to come, start, and stay? And that'll even provide jobs to people around here. And so that's kind of my big initiative. If you have any questions, you can look me up on SnyderForBR.com. Also, I'm on Facebook and Instagram.
Thanks so much. Trey, I don't know if you want to share your contact information, but
Please, yes. It's www.friendsofgb3.com, and you can catch me on Facebook, same site.
All right. I want to thank both of you all for sitting here and having this conversation with me. Metro Council members, I don't know if the public know, aren't paid huge salaries. They do this because they love their community. They run because they want to make some change in the areas in which they live. So I thank you all for spending this evening, the past 30 minutes with us. And I am ready to turn it over to Miss Monica Jean-Pierre.
I am so excited. Thank you so much for joining us, like Jessica said. But I will tell you this, what we do for the community through these forums are very important. I am in District 11, and I will let you know that I was paying close attention. So I'm very excited. So I have some decisions to make. Oh my goodness. So, but thank
Come
you
on.
all. I just want to remind everybody that on November the 3rd, we will be having a watch party for the election. And then next week, we'll have another forum. And then the week after that, we will have a special event for voter registration and just to talk about how we're going to lift Louisiana up. So we're so excited about all that's going on. So we want to see you Tuesday. So up next, I have our director, Dr. Christy Perry. So Dr. Perry?
Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much, Jessica, for that wonderful, exciting, and vibrant moderator. And thanks to everybody for joining in on Tuesdays. We are so excited. We want to make sure that you are informed voters. I also want to take this moment to just thank our pastor and our founder, Pastor Mark Ellis, who's pastor of United Christian Faith Ministries, and our First Lady, for having a vision to host this for our community. One of the things that he always says is that, you know, he's a pastor, but he's a pastor to this city and the surrounding area. And this is a way in which he shows that or demonstrates that. I would also like to thank the United Excel Social Justice team. They work hard to call the panelists and make sure that the panelists are here and talk to the panelists and things of that nature. It is not an easy job. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much, United Excel, for just for the work you do in the community. Our team is very passionate about social justice and making a change in this area. And so, as Monica indicated, she has given you all a lot of information and a lot of dates. We will be here on Tuesday, the 20th, Tuesday, the 27th, and we will also be here on November the 3rd, voting day. So join us. This is our See You Tuesday campaign. We want to see you every Tuesday and make sure that you are, in fact, informed voters. And so that's all we have for you tonight. Make sure you get registered to vote and get out and vote. And don't forget, grab somebody, take them to the polls. You have enough seat in your car. God bless you with a car. Don't go to the polls alone. Okay, so make sure to grab someone with you and take them to the polls. But that's all I have for you. And we will see you on Tuesday.